The echoes of laughter reverberated through the metallic walls of the hangar as alien soldiers, members of the most advanced species in the intergalactic coalition, pointed and mocked a human rifle. Among the jeering crowd stood Zealer, an expert in weaponry from the insectoid Chian species, focusing intently on the primitive object in his hands, spinning it with disdain. "Is this what you call a weapon?" He scoffed, his mandibles clicking with sarcasm. "It looks more like an archaic relic, or perhaps a farming tool." His words drew even more laughter from the aliens, each chuckle a reminder of how humanity was still perceived as inferior. In the midst of the crowd, James Callahan, a newly integrated human soldier in the Coalition program, stood motionless. He was young, but his firm posture and resolute gaze did not go unnoticed. Holding his weapon, a simple M4 rifle, he did not respond to the provocations. Instead, he let the words pass over him like the wind. This was not the first time he had faced disdain. Since humanity had joined the Coalition, doubts about their usefulness and technology had been constant. "It doesn't matter what they say," he thought. "What matters is what the weapon can do." "Enough of this," barked Commander Threx, an imposing scaled warrior from the Thraxian race whose majestic presence instantly silenced the room. Threx, known for his impartiality and results-driven approach, turned directly to Callahan. "Soldier, explain what your weapon is capable of." Although it was clearly a request, there was an implied authority in his voice that demanded a thorough response. Callahan stepped forward a few paces, meeting the commander's inquisitive gaze. Raising the rifle, he replied, "This is an M4, an assault rifle. It fires kinetic projectiles at high velocity, is reliable in any environment, and operates in 3-round bursts or semi-automatic mode. It is a practical and lethal weapon." His tone was neutral, devoid of arrogance, but filled with a certainty that disarmed some of the scornful stares. Zealer, however, remained unimpressed. "Kinetic? Please. We moved beyond that millennia ago. Our plasma weapons make that toy look like a rock." Threx, sensing the tension in the air, decided to settle the debate once and for all. "We'll conduct a practical test. Let's see what this weapon is truly capable of." With a gesture, he ordered everyone to move to the training area. The crowd, still chuckling quietly, followed Callahan, who walked calmly, carrying his rifle in silence. The contrast was impossible to ignore. Aliens clad in gleaming armor and armed with compact plasma weapons, while the humans seemed primitive by comparison. The shooting range was monumental, equipped with metal targets, energy barriers, and even holographic combat simulations. It was designed to test the limits of the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. Zealer, still confident in his superiority, pointed to an armored target. "Go ahead, human. Let's see what that antique can do." Callahan did not respond. He simply assumed his position, checked the rifle, and took a deep breath. The shot cracked through the air like thunder. A clear, direct impact was heard, followed by a metallic sound. The projectile pierced through the metal target, leaving a clean, deep hole. The room fell into an uncomfortable silence. Zealer blinked several times, confused. "Well, that's unexpected." Threx, however, remained impassive. "Next test, targets with energy barriers." Callahan adjusted his stance, aiming at the target shielded by an energy field. These barriers, a pride of the Coalition, were designed to neutralize plasma weapons and absorb explosions. No one expected a bullet from a primitive rifle to even scratch the shield. Once again, Callahan fired. The sharp sound of the shot echoed, and the projectile passed through the field with only a slight ripple, hitting the metal behind it. A deep hole appeared in the shielded target. The alien's expressions shifted from mockery to bewilderment. "How is this possible?" murmured one. Lowering the rifle, Callahan calmly explained, "Energy fields dissipate heat and energetic particles, but kinetic projectiles don't generate significant heat. They just pass through." Threx, now intrigued, ordered the next test, moving targets. Callahan would face holograms simulating fast-moving enemies, requiring precision and reflexes. While the aliens relied on the speed and automatic tracking of their plasma systems, the human relied solely on his skill. With targets appearing and disappearing rapidly, Callahan fired with brutal efficiency, taking down each one with precise shots. With every test, the alien skepticism waned. Callahan not only proved the rifle's effectiveness, but also demonstrated a deeper lesson: the power of simplicity in a universe obsessed with complexity. Perhaps, Threx reflected aloud, we have underestimated the value of the basics. The soldiers around murmured in agreement, while Zealer, still struggling to accept what he was seeing, crossed his arms. I still think this is an exception, he muttered, though his tone lacked its former conviction. Callahan, for his part, knew he had more to prove. The test was not just about the rifle. It was about humanity, and he was determined to show that his species was not inferior but adaptable, resilient, and, above all, unpredictable. Callahan found himself back at the shooting range, but this time, the alien crowd wasn't just curious. They were attentive, as if the human soldier had finally earned their respect. Commander Threx ordered additional tests. Prepare the advanced scenario, he instructed the technicians. A series of reinforced targets appeared at the end of the range, protected by denser and more dynamic energy barriers. Callahan remained unfazed. He knew this was only the beginning of what would be a long series of challenges. The first target was straightforward, a static barrier. Callahan switched the M4 to burst mode and fired 3 rapid shots. The shield flickered frantically before giving way, allowing the projectiles to strike the metal behind it. The sound reverberated through the room. That was too fast, Zila muttered, now watching more closely. Humans might have something we're underestimating, but the real test came with the second target. This one wasn't just reinforced, but also mobile, oscillating at erratic speeds. It was designed to simulate real combat scenarios. Callahan took a deep breath, adjusted his stance, and began tracking the target's movement. The first shot missed narrowly, but the second and third hit their mark. The metallic sound of impact was unmistakable. From the control panel, Threx observed the data with a glimmer of approval in his eyes. He said nothing, but it was clear he was impressed. Zealer, however, refused to accept the demonstration without further challenge. Your shots aren't fast enough, he insisted, his voice tinged with skepticism. What if we add more targets? Let's see how you handle that. He activated a set of simulated drones, which began darting randomly across the field. Callahan simply shrugged. Just another day at work, he said, holding the rifle with calm confidence. The drones fired bursts of light, simulating enemy fire. Callahan ducked and weaved skillfully, moving like a dancer amidst the chaos. Each shot from his rifle found a target, and one by one, the drones fell. The room fell silent as he took down the final drone, reloading his rifle leisurely. Speed means nothing without precision, he said calmly, breaking the silence. The results of the tests were undeniable. Human weapons, though seemingly primitive, had an unexpected advantage: consistency and adaptability. Threx finally broke the silence. Your weapon is deadlier than it appears, he said, but I wonder if you're ready for the next challenge. He looked directly at Callahan, issuing a silent challenge. The next scenario was different. Armored targets emerged, equipped with multiple layers of protection. Even the Coalition's advanced plasma weapons struggled to penetrate such barriers. Callahan pulled a special magazine from his pack, filled with armor-piercing rounds. If we're taking this thing down, he said, we'll need a little extra. As he prepared, the room buzzed with murmurs. This time, the aliens weren't mocking. They were trying to predict what he would do. When the first shot was fired, all eyes turned to the target. The bullet punched through the first layer with a deep, resonant impact. A crack began to form on the second layer, and before anyone could fully process what was happening, the second shot completely penetrated the armor. A metallic crash signaled Callahan's victory. He lowered the rifle and waited for their reactions. This time, no one laughed. Even Zila was speechless, staring at the destroyed target. It's impossible, he finally whispered. This shouldn't be possible. Callahan shrugged, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Advanced technology is great," he said, "but sometimes simplicity gets the job done." Threx stepped forward, locking eyes with the human soldier. "You're changing the way we see warfare," he said, his voice filled with respect. "This is just the beginning." And so, the true duel of technologies began. The aliens, now more intrigued than dismissive, decided to push Callahan to even greater challenges. Yet beneath it all, Callahan knew he wasn't just proving the worth of a weapon, he was showcasing the strength of humanity. After Callahan's impressive performance on the test range, Commander Threx made an unexpected decision. "It's time to put your arsenal to the test in a real combat environment," he announced, gesturing to a holographic table. "A simulated mission is scheduled, but the threats will be anything but artificial." Callahan simply nodded, maintaining his usual composure. He understood this was more than a weapons test, it was a test of humanity. The mission was set on a desolate planet called Karen 7, a world filled with extreme environments. The objective, Threx explained, is to survive for 48 hours and neutralize any threats you encounter. You will have limited resources and must rely on your skills and strategies. Callahan listened intently as the details were outlined. He would be accompanied by a small squad of alien soldiers, including Zealer, who seemed less than thrilled about the arrangement. The transport to Karen 7 was silent, but heavy with tension. Zealer eventually broke the silence with a jab. "Your weapon might have impressed on the range, human," he said, his voice dripping with irony. "But in real conditions, you'll see just how fragile your technology is." Callahan merely smiled. "We'll see," he replied, adjusting his rifle with meticulous precision. Upon landing on Karen 7, the group was immediately greeted by acidic winds and a barren landscape. Sharp rocks and fields of toxic gases made progress slow and hazardous. "These conditions will test your resilience, human," Zealer commented. "I hope you're prepared." Ignoring the remark, Callahan began analyzing the terrain. He knew that in such a hostile environment, improvisation would be key. The first threat appeared quickly. Native creatures, resembling reptilian predators, attacked the group as they traversed a canyon. The alien soldiers' plasma weapons were effective but overheated rapidly, leaving them vulnerable. Callahan, however, remained calm, firing with precise efficiency. Each shot dropped an enemy. "You seem to be enjoying yourself," Zealer shouted, struggling to reload his overheated weapon. "Just doing my job," Callahan replied. With the predator attack neutralized, the group advanced to a field of wreckage, where they found signs of a past battle. "Looks like we're not the first to face challenges here," Callahan remarked as he examined pieces of alien technology scattered across the ground. Among the debris, he found a functional energy cell. "This might come in handy," he said, pocketing the item. By nightfall, the group set up camp in a cave. Zealer, still skeptical, watched as Callahan prepared simple traps using materials found in the environment. "You're full of surprises," the alien admitted begrudgingly. "How did you learn all this?" Callahan glanced at him with a faint smile. "On Earth, improvisation isn't a skill. It's survival." During the night, their sensors detected movement. A swarm of autonomous drones, remnants of an old military force, was approaching. "This is going to be a problem," Zealer warned. Callahan quickly took charge. "Use the rocks for cover. Focus on strategic targets," he instructed. Though the aliens hesitated initially, they soon realized that Callahan's tactics were effective. The group managed to destroy the drones with minimal casualties. At dawn, the squad reached the extraction point, exhausted but victorious. "I hate to admit it," Zealer said, "but your tactics worked. Your weapon may be primitive, but your mind is a far more powerful tool." Callahan shrugged. "It's not about what you use, it's about how you use it." Threx reviewed the mission report with interest. "You've proven that simplicity has its strengths," he told Callahan. "But the real question is, how does this apply to the galactic battlefield?" Callahan looked at him confidently. "It applies because survival is universal. And in war, survival is what defines victory." After the success on Charon 7, Threx decided it was time to test Callahan and his primitive approach on a larger scale. "It's time for you to participate in a tactical combat simulation," the commander announced, assembling a mixed team of humans and aliens for a mission in an urban warfare environment. "This will test not only your technology but also your leadership skills." The setting was a war-torn city reconstructed as an advanced training ground. Narrow streets, partially destroyed buildings, and hidden traps created a challenging environment. "The objective," Threx explained, "is to capture the central base of the opposing force. You'll be up against Omega Squad, our elite team. Prepare for the unexpected." Callahan was appointed team leader, a decision that surprised the alien soldiers. "Why him?" Zealer asked, still reluctant to acknowledge the human's competence. Threx was blunt, "Because he's proven he can think outside the box. And you're going to need that." Callahan, as calm as ever, simply adjusted his rifle. "Let's show them how it's done." As they entered the simulated city, the team encountered their first ambush. Automated sentinels equipped with advanced motion sensors blocked the path. The aliens fired plasma in every direction, but to no avail. "Stop!" Callahan shouted. He analyzed the sentinels' movement patterns and noticed a flaw in their programming. Using a simple distraction, a makeshift smoke grenade, he neutralized the sensors. "Move now," he ordered, and the team passed through without any casualties. Further ahead, the team discovered energy mines buried under rubble. "These things are sensitive to any movement," warned an alien soldier. Callahan examined one of the mines and realized its activation depended on an electromagnetic field. Using insulating materials found in the environment, he improvised a device to disable them. "Done," he said as Zealer looked on in disbelief. "How do you know so much about these technologies?" Callahan gave a faint smile. "On Earth, problem-solving is just practice." The team finally reached the midpoint of the simulation, encountering a zone heavily defended by advanced drones. Once again, the aliens' plasma weapons began to overheat, leaving the team vulnerable. Callahan, however, used his rifle to precisely target the drone sensors, disabling them one by one. "Still think brute force is everything?" he asked Zealer, taking down the final drone. The simulation's climax came when Omega Squad launched a surprise attack, using a coordinated flanking maneuver. The alien soldiers on Callahan's team began to panic. "Hold formation," Callahan commanded, his voice firm and authoritative. He divided the team into smaller groups, using the destroyed buildings as cover. While the aliens fired plasma to keep the enemy occupied, Callahan found a strategic position to set up an ambush. "Wait for my signal," he instructed. As Omega Squad advanced, Callahan and his group emerged from an unexpected position, catching them off guard. Using guerrilla tactics, they disabled the enemy squad leaders, forcing a retreat. "Mission accomplished," Callahan reported over the radio as the team pushed forward to capture the central base. At the end of the simulation, Threx gathered both teams to discuss the results. "You faced extremely challenging conditions," he said, and against all odds, Callahan's team emerged victorious. "Can anyone explain why?" Zealer, though reluctant, admitted it was his ability to improvise. "While we relied too much on our technology, he found simple and effective solutions." Threx nodded. "That, my soldiers, is the lesson to take from this. In real war, we won't always have ideal resources. We must learn to make the best use of what we have." He looked directly at Callahan. "You've shown us that innovation isn't just about what we use, it's about how we use it." Callahan accepted the praise humbly, but knew this was only the beginning. "This was just a simulation," he said, "but in real battle, things are far more unpredictable. I hope everyone learned something today, because the next lesson might come at a much higher cost." After the simulations, Callahan and his team were assigned a mission that surpassed any training they had ever undergone. The Coalition had detected hostile activity in a remote system known as Corax 9. Sensors picked up powerful, unfamiliar energy patterns, indicating the presence of an experimental weapon. "We need to neutralize this before it becomes a threat," Frex explained, gathering Callahan and his team in the command room. "And Callahan, you'll lead the operation on the ground." The journey to Corax 9 was tense. The ship's crew, a mix of humans and aliens, debated the challenges they might face. "If this weapon is as advanced as the report suggests," Zealer remarked, "our chances don't look good." Callahan met his gaze, his voice firm but reassuring. "The odds are never good. That's why we're here." His confidence, once met with skepticism, now began to inspire respect. As they approached Corax 9, the view was grim. The planet was covered in ash plains and active volcanoes, its skies perpetually shrouded by crimson clouds. "What a charming place," an alien soldier joked, trying to lighten the mood. Callahan, however, remained focused. He studied the holographic maps, charting routes to avoid the enemy patrols detected by the scanners. "We need to be quick and precise. We're not here for a prolonged war." The first step was to land undetected. The team descended in stealth shuttles, using the planet's rugged terrain to avoid radar detection. Once they touched down, Callahan led the advance toward the enemy installation. "Stay close and stay alert," he said, his rifle ready. "They know we're coming." The first contact occurred in a narrow valley. Robotic sentinels emerged from the wreckage, firing energy weapons that lit up the darkness. The team responded quickly, but the aliens' plasma weapons began to fail under the extreme conditions. Callahan, however, stayed calm. Using precise shots from his rifle, he took down the sentinels one by one. "Another problem solved the old-fashioned way," he remarked as the alien allies followed him, visibly impressed. As they pushed forward, resistance intensified. Enemy troops equipped with armored exoskeletons ambushed the team in a canyon. "We're surrounded," Zealer shouted as shots ricocheted off the rocks around them. Analyzing the situation quickly, Callahan noticed a weakness in the enemy's formations. He ordered the team to deploy smoke grenades to disorient the attackers, then led a surprise charge. The plan worked, and the enemies were neutralized. Finally, the team reached the main installation, an underground complex protected by a nearly impenetrable force field. "This is going to slow us down," one alien soldier remarked. But Callahan had another idea. Examining the force field's generator, he identified a vulnerability. Using improvised explosives, he temporarily disabled it. "The entrance is open," he announced. "Let's move." Inside the complex, tension was palpable. Narrow, dimly lit corridors were filled with traps and patrolling drones. Callahan led the group with precision, swiftly neutralizing threats. "They definitely don't want us reaching the main chamber," he said with a wry smile. "Which means we're close?" When they reached the control room, they found the experimental weapon, a massive energy cannon capable of obliterating entire fleets. "This can't be activated," Callahan said, inspecting the control panels. Suddenly, alarms blared as enemy forces began surrounding the room. "Hold this position," he ordered. The final battle was intense. The team fought off waves of soldiers and drones, using every resource they had to hold their ground. Callahan coordinated their efforts, ensuring no one was left behind. Meanwhile, he planted explosives at the weapon's core. "The countdown has started," he announced. "We've got 2 minutes to get out of here." The retreat was chaotic, but the team managed to escape to a waiting shuttle outside. As the installation erupted in a fiery explosion, the Allies let out cheers of relief and victory. "Mission accomplished," Callahan said, exhausted but satisfied. For the first time, Zealer smiled at him. "Maybe you're not as primitive as I thought." Back at base, Frex congratulated the team on their success. "You didn't just neutralize a threat, you demonstrated what we can achieve together," he said. Looking at Callahan, he added, "You've shown us that the value of an idea is greater than the technology behind it." Callahan simply nodded. He knew more missions lay ahead and that the lessons of survival and innovation were far from over. Back at the base, the victory over the Corax 9 installation brought temporary relief to the coalition. However, High Command understood that the battle was far from over. Reports indicated that enemy forces were redirecting resources to develop new intergalactic-scale energy weapons. Tensions ran high. Callahan, now respected among the alien allies, was summoned to a strategic meeting led by Threx. "We are facing a threat that cannot be underestimated." Threx began as holograms projected data on enemy movements. "They are working on something massive, but we don't yet know what." Zealer, who now showed more respect for Callahan, added, "If they finish this project, the balance of power will shift forever. We need to act fast." Callahan remained silent for a moment, analyzing the data. He knew the trust placed in him came with immense responsibility. "Whatever it is, we'll face it the same way we always have, with precision and strategy. But we must be prepared for the unexpected." The new mission took the team to a forgotten system on the galaxy's edge, known as Rift Delta. It was a location where extreme gravitational forces created spatial anomalies. The environment was perilous, but ideal for hiding a research installation. "They chose this place for a reason," said Imani, a human scientist sent to support the mission. "Anything developed here will be far more advanced than anything we've ever seen." Approaching the system was complicated. The gravitational fields distorted sensors and made navigation treacherous. "One wrong move and we're lost," warned an alien pilot. Callahan, however, trusted his team's instincts. "Stay calm. Every step matters," he said as the crew adjusted their coordinates. As they reached the system's core, the sight was unnerving. A massive installation floated in space, surrounded by drones and small patrol ships. Constant pulses of energy emanated from the base's towers, signaling that the weapon was in advanced stages of development. "If this gets activated, there'll be no stopping them," Threx said grimly. The team faced a crucial decision: launch a direct assault or attempt a stealth infiltration. "Both carry risks," Zealer explained. "A direct attack alerts the entire base, but infiltration might give them time to activate the weapon." Callahan deliberated briefly before responding, "We'll split our forces. One team will distract the base, while the other disables the energy core. Timing will be everything." The plan began with a coordinated assault led by Threx and Zealer, who bombarded the external defenses, drawing the garrison's attention. Meanwhile, Callahan, Imani, and a small group infiltrated the base through a maintenance tunnel detected by their sensors. "This is the easy part," Callahan said with a faint smile. "The hard part is getting out." Inside the base, the team encountered hallways patrolled by advanced drones and heavily armed enemy soldiers. "This feels impossible," muttered an alien soldier. Callahan looked at him resolute. "Nothing is impossible when you understand what's at stake." As they advanced, Imani discovered something alarming. "This isn't just a research facility, it's a factory," she said, displaying the data. "They're building an entire fleet of ships equipped with this new technology." Callahan realized the stakes had risen. "We're not just here to disable the weapon. We need to destroy everything." The mission became a race against time. While Threx and Zealer battled reinforcements outside, Callahan's team reached the core of the installation. There, they found the main weapon, a massive cannon that harnessed gravitational anomalies to amplify its power. "This could destroy entire systems with a single shot," Imani said, horrified. "We have to shut it down now." The enemy, however, was prepared. An elite unit led by a calm, yet menacing alien commander confronted them. "You'll never understand what we're building," he said as his forces surrounded the room. Callahan, holding his rifle steady, replied, "Maybe not, but we know how to stop it." The final battle was fierce. Callahan directed precise attacks, while Imani worked to overload the installation's core. 30 seconds, she shouted as the energy around them grew unstable. "We need to get out now." Callahan and his team retreated to an emergency exit as the base began to collapse. The explosion was visible from space, a wave of energy that obliterated the entire installation. The team barely escaped, but their success was undeniable. "They won't get another chance to build something like this," Threx said as he observed the wreckage. Back at the Coalition base, the victory was celebrated. But Callahan knew this was just one battle in a much larger war. They won't give up so easily, he said to Threx, and neither will we. Back at the Coalition's main base, the victory over the Rift Delta installation was hailed as a milestone in the war. The destruction of the gravitational weapon not only neutralized an imminent threat, but also dealt a significant blow to the enemy's morale. However, Callahan, Threx, and the other leaders knew the real work was just beginning. Wars don't end with the destruction of a weapon, Callahan said, gazing at the hologram of the now pacified system. They end with the building of something greater. The Coalition Council convened to discuss the next steps. Representatives from various species were present, this time displaying mutual respect. Zealer, who once viewed humans as primitive, now openly advocated for incorporating human tactics into future training. "We've learned from you," he admitted. "Simplicity, precision, and adaptability, values we've long neglected." During the summit, an intercepted message revealed that the enemy was retreating to their last strongholds, running out of resources to sustain the war. "We're on the brink of total victory," declared Threx. But Callahan raised his hand to interrupt. Total victory doesn't mean total destruction. They need to see there's a place for them in a new era, or we'll be fighting forever. This stance sparked intense debate. Many argued for the complete eradication of the enemy to eliminate future threats. Others, like Amani, contended that true victory lay in breaking the cycle of war and vengeance. "Destruction isn't the only way to win," she argued. "We need to offer them a chance for redemption." Inspired by these discussions, Callahan proposed a bold strategy, sending a surrender message with clear but fair terms. "We offer a choice," he explained. "Surrender, accept Coalition oversight, or face the consequences of resistance." Threx and Zealer hesitated but eventually agreed. "If this fails, we return to the fight," Threx affirmed. The message was transmitted, and to many surprise, a response came quickly. The enemy's interim leader, a war-weary figure named Reveris, appeared in a hologram before the council. "You have defeated us," he admitted, his voice heavy with exhaustion. "But we, too, want to survive. We are ready to negotiate." The surrender was accepted under strict conditions. The enemy forces would dismantle their weapons, surrender war leaders for trial, and submit to ongoing monitoring. In return, their colonies would be protected, and their people granted limited autonomy. The decision was controversial, but Callahan insisted it was the only path to a sustainable future. "If we want to build a new tomorrow," he said, "we can't just destroy the past." As disarmament began, the Coalition faced internal challenges. Factions from various species opposed sparing the enemy, including some humans who saw the surrender as weakness. "Even in victory, we are divided," Imani remarked. "But overcoming that division is the real challenge." Callahan returned to Earth for a brief period of rest, but found a planet transformed by war. Monuments to the fallen were under construction, while veterans struggled to reintegrate. In a public speech, he spoke about the price of peace. "True strength lies not just in winning battles," he told the crowd. "It lies in ensuring that the battles we've won mean something greater." In the months that followed, the Coalition worked to rebuild war-torn regions. Humans and aliens collaborated on infrastructure, trade, and technology projects. A new generation began growing up seeing more cooperation than conflict. "This is the real victory," Threx told Callahan during a joint mission. "We're building something that will outlast any weapon." However, signs of instability persisted. Small insurgent groups refused to accept peace, and political leaders debated the Coalition's future role. Callahan, now recognized as one of the architects of this new era, remained vigilant. "Peace is a process, not an event," he said during a meeting with allies. "And we're just at the beginning." On the anniversary of the Rift Delta victory, a celebration united all species of the Coalition. Callahan was invited to speak. "Today, we celebrate more than the end of a war," he said. "We celebrate the beginning of something we've never had before, a galaxy united by choice, not by force." As he looked out over the diverse crowd, Callahan knew the work was far from over. But for the first time, he felt they were on the right path. The war had revealed the worst and best of everyone, proving that together, they could overcome even the most impossible challenges. And so, under the glow of the stars, the coalition began building a future that once seemed unattainable. Callahan smiled, knowing that despite the difficulties, they had made the right choice. After all, the true victory was the promise of a new tomorrow.